5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye, hello. As I always say, one of those will apply to you wherever you are in the world. And I do that more on this show than anywhere because I know Dave loves it. How are we doing? It's over. No, it's not actually. You think it's all over, but it's not yet. We've still got some windows open, which we'll come on to in a second. What did you think of the window? Look, you can see going across the bottom, the ins and the outs. There has to be said there's more outs than ins, which thankfully, hopefully, is the story of most people's bottoms. But welcome along to the forum. Like I say, we will be looking at the transfer window. And thank you for joining us. If you are in the chat, as indeed is Ronald, get your comments in. Hi, Ronald, how you doing? All your comments will come up in the bottom there as we go through. Click that like button and subscribe. And if you're watching on catch-up, you can do exactly the same. And if you are listening to us via podcast rather than looking at us, you don't know what you're missing. You've got the four of probably the most handsome men that support Leicester. Weren't available tonight, so we've all come in instead. Let's talk Leicester. Gentlemen, a very good evening. Dave looking like he's just been released from Quantico. But it's nice to have you along. It's Craig. It's Craig. Oh no, I thought Craig had frozen then. I thought he got the cardboard cut out because he nips out and what have you. And Steve, welcome along as well. Your first time on the forum. You're a forum virgin.
Yeah, I guess so. That's for sure. Not for long.
Prashant and Gray, hello. All right, Gray, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So that was it. It came, it saw, it's over. General thoughts before we get into it in a deep dive, Craig, on the window?
Decent. I think it's very, very good. I think I put a note on something that Owen Palmer Atkinson or whatever his name is wrote, just saying it's it was a good window for us overall, I think, and I'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, happy.
I hope you're nicer on his post than you are on that gentleman in the Facebook group.
Ooh,
probably not.
Tell me about it.
And he was polite in fairness, but it was rather to the point. I think the gentleman was questioning Bilal El-Khanousi's move or something, and I think he just put boring. I think,
I'm just fed up. Anybody who puts a post on that includes the name Rudkin, I just bore off.
Yeah.
He hasn't got it on tonight. But be careful what you say about Mr. Rudkin, because we do have Mr. Rudkin's number one fan with us. Where's the shirt? Where's the shirt, Steve?
I wore it yesterday, so it needs to be in the wash. And I wouldn't call myself the number one fan. I would say I made the mistake of doing a Twitter poll, and it came and bit me on the arse, to be honest.
Well, when I say number one, sorry, what I maybe should have said was the only one. That might come across better. But he has got a shirt with Rudkin on Rudkin and 14.
Yes,
you've got on the back. Dave, you'd never buy a Rudkin shirt, would you?
Well, no. Well, I don't have a problem with him because I mean, he's been with us a lot longer than some of these supporters have. And we've won titles, we've won cups, I mean, suddenly when it's going wrong, it's all his fault. I feel sorry for the poor bugger.
Yeah, I mean, when there's... Sorry, Chris, yeah. When there's an agenda, they'll get blamed for everything, and anything good that they do is quickly just swept aside, And
he clearly loves the club, else he wouldn't be there with this abuse all those years.
I mean, to take the abuse, I even thought against Birmingham, once more, the fans in the corner are just embarrassing.
To play devil's advocate here, I disagree to an extent because, yes, whilst you can give him the positives that he's done, and the positive of this window that we've just have, the last 4 years of, you can blame him and Top for the running of the club and the situation that we're in. You can't say he's blameless and it's an agenda because if that
I don't think anybody said he was blameless. I don't recall saying he was blameless.
But you said it was an agenda, but it's not an agenda. It's wanting accountability for the situation that the club is in.
No, it's an agenda when he's blamed for everything, even things that are not his fault. That's an agenda.
What would you say it was not his fault?
Well,
so
buying, that's the problem.
So like getting hold of some of the good players, keeping some of our good players, that's under him. And if you think that two people run the club, that's quite naive.
But hang on, that's his job though. So you're saying that the positives are the job. So what's the rest of the agenda around? Because you say that he's being blamed for stuff that isn't his job. What is he being blamed for?
He's being blamed for every single thing and unless you're in the club, Steve, and anyone else is in the club, everyone seems to know exactly what goes on every deal that's ever made at our football club, and clearly they don't.
I agree with that, but you're saying he's being blamed for everything that isn't his job. So far, you've mentioned the transfers, but it's not like we're not blaming him for the injuries or anything like that. We're blaming him for the job that he's doing at the club currently.
Yeah, I think you're being quite pedantic on what I actually said. In the context of what we're talking about, he gets blamed. He'll get blamed if we don't buy players that we've never been for. It's Rudkin, what are you doing? You've let Kone go to another club. No one of any substance ever said that we were ever in for him, but it's his fault.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. That anything to do with contracts or thing is his fault, even if it's never been said that we're interested in it.
I always jokingly say, that if the ladies' toilets in the away end got blocked, it would be John Rudkin's fault. But in fairness to John Rudkin, he has had a good window. And, he doesn't pick the players. He doesn't go out and say, right, I want to pick Daka. I want to pick, he's just literally arranging the contract. And that is down to, he'll know he's got a set amount to spend. But look, let's be honest, he's had a good window this window. So let's bask in his glory at the moment, shall we? This I get annoying, and I touched on this with you the other day, Steve. But look at this, Craig. Holland doesn't shut until tonight, their window. Belgium and Switzerland don't shut until Monday. Saudi Arabia's Tuesday. Turkey and Greece Friday. Serbia Wednesday. Now, Steve said to me the other day, and I take on board that, there are different time zones and what have you, and I accept that for Saudi Arabia. But Holland, why have they got an extra 20-odd hours, 27, 28 hours, Craig, when, they're only an hour difference to us, or two maximum, depending on the talks going forward.
I assume that there's no common agreement throughout UEFA, and everybody's allowed to make their own windows. I mean, it seems like the Turkey window is constantly open. It always feels like it anyway. If there's any late deals, it seems to be Turkey. But unless you can get that common agreement across all the UEFA clubs, and even then, Saudi's not going to come into that. The South American clubs, I don't know where they stand, to be honest.
Well, it's as weird as Scotland, isn't it? 11 o'clock last night, not 7. I mean, I know they haven't got computers or anything, so they probably need a bit more time to ferry the letters around to the clubs.
Hello, Scotland.
Yeah. It just seems weird, doesn't it? You're right. Saudi Arabia, Craig, not 23 days different time zone. And that's what FIFA's for, isn't it? World governing body.
Steve, I mean, you said about the time zones, and I do get that with sort of the, like the Saudis and like the South Americans. And I get that maybe the South Americans and the Australians and all of those are under different bodies. But apart from Saudi Arabia, these are all under UEFA.
Yes, well, your own transfer window is set by your own FA. So, usually with the big 5 leagues, they all pick the same day. I know we had previously where we closed early and the rest stayed open for a couple of weeks. And then the clubs who voted for it to begin with kicked up a fuss being like, well, hang on a second, we're losing some of our better players and we can't replace them. So then they voted to carry on like normal from there. But yeah, it's set by your own FA. So I understand the Turkish one because their season starts later than ours. So I sort of get that one. But yeah, with the Belgium and the Austrian, the Czech league, Bulgarian, I've got a list here. There's loads of leagues that are still open that are sort of less than a week or so apart from the rest of us. So it doesn't make any sense, but it's set by their own FA rather than UEFA. But UEFA should come in and say, look, if you're within a certain limit with your windows or your season starting, it should shut on a specific day.
Yeah.
And maybe 1st September is the perfect time for it.
Hi, Jack. Not waiting for the final whistle. Welcome in.
Sorry, Steve, you're more knowledgeable on this. Do those different windows have any effect on when they have to declare their squads for any European football?
So yeah, well, there's always a registration point because the UEFA Champions League, like the qualifying stage, starts in June, which is crazy when you think about it. You go away from the season, you think that's football done, and then 2 weeks later they're playing Champions League football. So there is several registration periods between that time per qualifying round, and then usually there's always a 2-week international break in September. So the registration for Champions League is usually like a couple of days before the first Champions League match for that reason. So I imagine all of these will fall in line with that registration of the first Champions League game, which is towards the end of September, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't look at the Champions League.
We're not there, so it makes no sense to look at it, does it?
I don't know.
The prelim of the FA Cup started.
It is stupid though, Dave, that all the transfer windows should be shut before any leagues kick off.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, we've had this is the prime example this season with Marty. He's been coming in and we've been selling players. Like we've got a sale on, and so he's not really known. You can only now sit down and go, right, this is my team. These are the players that I want that I can play. And it's ridiculous. We played 6 games. Well, all right, we played 4 league games. It's just I just don't get why they can't do it. Well, maybe September the 1st is too late because we kick off before that.
Well, if you're going to have a transfer window, which I think is pretty stupid anyway, then you might as well do it before the season starts. It worked in, go back to the old days, you get all these people messaging now, but, it worked. You wanted a player, you went out, see if he's available, see if the club had let him go. If they said yes, you went and bought him. Didn't matter whether it was September, October, November. We made some of our greatest signings it wasn't in a window, but in sort of December, January time, or Feb, March, which saved us from relegation. But I don't see the point of it. I really don't, apart from the fact it's great for Sky Sports. That is the only thing I can see that's positive for them. They love it. They're so pompous, they're reporters, that they just give it loads. You know, we're in the know, we know everything. Who cares? At the end of the day, it just matters what happened last night. You know, who we've got and who we haven't.
I think they're at a point now where they don't seem to realise the social media when they make a big thing about their breaking news.
Yeah, I know.
Someone signed 2 hours ago. You know,
Yeah, I know.
all of a sudden they're breaking it.
Yeah. Can I just say, Dave, well done at matching up with the graphic as well today.
You're welcome. I'll just say, as you're in this mood, I've never been to Saudi Arabia. Have you?
I haven't, and if you think that Leicester Till I Die is going to pay for your flight for you...
No, Saudi Arabia, I meant.
Oh, right, yeah.
You've lost me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You win a prize for today's
that was a bit that for you.
Mistake.
You know, everyone's a critic, aren't they? Have you noticed this? You know,
I'll blame Rudkin for that.
2:00 this morning. Honestly, yeah, he'd get blamed if he was here. 2:00 this morning, I'm doing this, trying to keep my eyes open because I was out today because the pub was calling at lunchtime. So there I was up late doing this, and all I get is Dave picking on me. Cheers, Dave.
I just want to correct myself, Chris. The Turkish window actually started in August, so it won't be to do with that their season starting.
Right.
They've already played 4 games, so ignore me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Welcome to the club.
You're welcome here, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. But Steve, I forgot what I was going to say now. Dave's taking me. Oh, that was what I was going to say. I suppose the only advantage for us is, and only this window now, is because we could still maybe get rid of a couple of players.
Yeah, so I imagine we'll lose at least 2. I can see Wout Fast walking out the door and going to a Turkish side because there were Turkish sides interested in him before the window closed for us anyway. Funnily enough, I saw Jose Mourinho lost his job the other night, and he was linked to the club he was managing. Was it Galatasaray or Fenerbahce? One of the two. Anyway.
Fenerbahce, I think.
Yeah, so he was linked with them and Besiktas, so they might come back in and take him off their hands.
Was Ole Gunnar Besiktas manager?
Yeah, he got sacked as well.
He got sacked as well, didn't he? So
no, has he been sacked?
Yeah, basically any ex-Man United player has been sacked in the last week.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I honestly, I just can't
guarantee. The one guarantee is we won't see Harry Winks moving to Turkey or Saudi because he doesn't want to go anywhere further than London. So he'll be here until January.
That's true.
Well, that's why he went to Man United, wasn't it? He knew so many Londoners.
I can see Mourinho turning up at Forest. I could easily see that happen.
You could kill them off.
Yes. I mean, if that had happened, guys, just as a general thing, because it's all made up, but if we hadn't signed Marty and this had happened maybe 3 or 4 weeks earlier, would you have taken Ollie or taken Jose?
No.
Not for me. I feel like the footballing world has passed Mourinho behind now. You know, his philosophy of parking the bus and, trying to frustrate teams is great if you're a fan of Mourinho, but it wouldn't have worked at Leicester when the fan base get annoyed at passing back 5 yards rather than pushing forward. So that would have been interesting. Yeah. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, look, I think he was harsh to be sacked at Man U. I think he was doing an okay job considering the amount of mess that they're in. But, we saw him at Cardiff. He wasn't great at Cardiff, and I wouldn't want him here. If there was a chance to get, we didn't have Marty, I think the club would have still stuck out for Danny Roll, and we'd still be in for him now. So
we could have ended up with Russell Martin.
Thank God we didn't. That's all I'll say.
But Craig, what about his brother, Hose B?
Yeah, you have to do that gag in the context of a Mexican fireman.
No. Just Jose's brother, Jose B. I like to. I have certain jokes that I use over and over and over again, and that's one.
Don't
What,
we
what,
know it?
what did the Mexican fireman call his twin boys? Jose and Jose B.
Who's B? Yes.
Yeah.
But what did that have to do with football?
What did yours have to do with comedy?
That is very true. That is very true. I
Very
will.
bitchy tonight, boys, aren't
I will
we?
give you. He has. Have you had a row with the missus, Craig?
That would involve speaking to her.
Yes. Right. Let's move on. Let's have a look at the signings. And look, we've only actually made one permanent signing. We actually haven't spent anything. We could actually end this window with a £79 million profit. I mean, yes, there will be some fees for the loan players. I am still disappointed we didn't sign an extra player, Craig. An extra goalkeeper, sorry.
Yeah, I think they were in for it, weren't they? But it all fell down late on. I think there were a lot of eggs in that one basket, and when that fell through, I don't think they had any backup. It seemed a strange move, to be honest, because I don't think he was particularly surplus to requirements at Borussia Mönchengladbach, but he appeared to be on his way. But yeah, it could be tricky now. You've got to look at Bowser, but again, you know, there might be some free agents out there in goalkeeper land that we pick up.
Well, an honour might be soon.
Right.
You look, Steve. You know my thoughts on the goalkeeper situation. I think we need three, and I'm not saying that Bowser isn't good or he's not where he should be at this stage of his development, but I just don't think he's ready for a long stint. If Delarchi gets injured and Bekovic comes in, again, for me, okay for a game or two, but not if it's like a 6-month injury. And then if Bekovic gets injured, we're relying on Bowser.
So I would say the only positive is if Begovic and Jakub gets injured, then we'd go into the emergency market on loan to be able to sign somebody. But in regards to free transfers, I mean, there are several goalkeepers that would fit the bill at Leicester. There's a former Spurs goalkeeper, Alfie Whiteman, who's pretty good. I've seen him play a couple of times. He looks like a decent keeper, and he's only 26. So I imagine the club will go in for a goalkeeper on a free transfer at some point, because you can't have Begovic as your second goalkeeper at 38. As much as he's a talented goalkeeper, he's not played football for 14, 15 months professionally. So, it's a lot to ask for. And Bowser is still very young. We saw him at pre-season. He didn't look the most comfortable and confident, but I guess it's your first step up into the first team. So look, I still think the club will go out and sign somebody on a free transfer.
Good evening, Wayne. He says you really need to drop the goalkeeping thing, Chris. I will drop the goalkeeping thing when you drop Mongo, Wayne. Is that a deal? Dave, we were also in for the goalkeeper from Sheffield Wednesday, allegedly. One of the many rumours. And in fairness, he had a pretty decent game against us.
Well, he did. He didn't catch a lot, did he? But then that's life now. Keepers can't catch a ball. But, he's not going to be second choice. So that was really not going to happen. He's talking about the youngster. I remember, and Steve, what you'll probably find out about me is I do go back in time because I can't remember what happened yesterday. So we said the same about Shilton when he was 16. Came in, Banks got injured. Shilton played a few games, looked really dodgy in the air. And the next season, I think we sold Banks to Stoke. So, it's tough as a goalkeeper at that age. Trust me, I've done it. Your defence aren't sure about you. We saw it with he who shouldn't be mentioned when he came in the side, with our defenders not trusting him. And Faye scored, was it 2 own goals against Liverpool at Anfield, I think it was. It takes time. And my whole point months ago was we now have a bit of time. We've got the youngsters coming in. Let's make the most of them. Let's make sure we're okay. We're not going down, but let's not get too hyped up about promoting ourselves back again. Because these kids won't survive in the Premier League, but we don't want that to happen. So, I'm not too despondent. I mean, it's tough to find a second choice keeper who actually has no ambition. Danny Ward seemed to have it, but
Yeah, and I think that's we've had some complacency over the years because obviously Casper knew he was never going to be dropped from the team with Danny Ward as backup, and then you had Smithies and Schwarzer and some older goalkeepers. Is Jakob going to think, well, I'm even if I make several mistakes in 4 or 5 games, it doesn't matter because they're not going to bring Begovic in behind me, and that breeds contempt really, and you should really. You need competition for sure. So if Bowser is the second choice goalkeeper, I'd like to see him on the bench a bit more and be tried out in. Oh, I guess we can't play the cup games now because we're only in one more competition in the FA Cup. But in the FA Cup, let him start and see where he is.
Well, he's got a top keeper to coach him, hasn't he? So that's got to be a bonus for him. And Nesbitt knows that's part of his job. He knows he's not going to come in as a long-term permanent keeper. So.
Well, I don't think we've actually got a goalkeeping coach anymore, have we?
Probably not. Well, we had about 5 goalkeepers last year, so there was no room for a coach.
Yeah, they're doing it all themselves.
Yeah.
It's a sublime to the ridiculous, isn't it, really?
Help. Yeah.
And talking about sublime to the ridiculous, Craig, let's talk. We've got a striker. And Wayne was saying to me, would you have a goalkeeper, an extra goalkeeper with the striker? I mean, if it was a case of one or the other, you would have to go for the striker. 25, so, he's a good age. Season-long loan with an option to buy, so we don't have to. Centre forward. I mean, for me, he's got 2 weeks to settle in. Do you start him against Oxford?
I think so. Personally, I don't think Bilal's gone. I can see Ayew dropping back into that 10, where he's looked more effective than he has as a number 9. To be honest, so I think you put him in, and if you're putting him in an away game, there's less pressure, you would say, than putting him in a home game. But he's got to start somewhere, so I don't see why you would sort of tease him in, as it were. That's Daka's job for 15 minutes. So, I mean, it's a name that came out of the blue. I don't think any of us were throwing that name around. I really hoped that we would go in for the lad from Millwall, but he's stuck there. And I just hope the guy brings his MSL form rather than his Dutch League form.
Steve, I mean, where does this leave Daka? I mean, I put a post up the other day, what the F? I mean, apparently we had offers for him and we turned them down. I mean, I know they wanted 10 million, but if you can get 3 or 4 million and still save his wages of 4 million, with his form, I mean, this guy's coming in. He's only got to score 2 goals and he's doing better than Daka did last season.
Yeah, I feel like if the money was right, if they'd agreed a fee of sort of £6 or £7 million for Daka, we probably would have gone in for that Millwall striker. There was reports that we had made a late bid for him yesterday, but with not enough time left in the window to get it finalised, the club pulled out in the end. Where it leaves Daka, in all honesty, as far away from the first team as possible, if you ask me, because I just don't think he's got the confidence to play for Leicester anymore. I think if you put him on 15 minutes, as soon as he takes a shot and he misses, the crowd's on his back a little bit. He doesn't have any confidence in himself. And a clean break would have been better than nothing. But if you sell him and you can't bring a replacement in, and you've only got, you then run the risk of having 2 strikers again, like we have done so far this season. I guess the club aren't willing to take that risk, which I can understand. But I did the calculations, and to book a profit on PSR, it would have been 4.2 million. So if we'd got anything above that, it would count as a profit. So even if they got 6, then fine, because with PSR, you bank all of that £6 million this summer. It's not like it's spread over the years. So if that was to happen and they had money to spend, they could have gone out and got the Millwall striker or somebody else. But I'm guessing that it's too late in the window. If he goes to Saudi now, which could happen, he could go to Turkey as well. There were reports that a couple of Turkish sides were interested in him. We then run the risk of having 2 strikers at the club, and Silko Thomas, I guess, but he's more of a winger than a striker.
Yeah. Dave, I mean, I've tried to defend Daka, you know, but I just can't. But my worry with this guy is that, and I remember what it was like when we first sort of lost Mahrez. Every person we got in that was on that right wing would say, well, he's no Mahrez, is he? You know, oh, Mahrez wouldn't have done that. And I can see if this guy doesn't get a hat trick on the opening, you know, in his first game, if that is Oxford, people are go, I can hear it now. Jamie Vardy would have scored that. He's no Jamie Vardy, is he? We've got to give the guy a chance and forget players that I'm comparing them because there's no other Jamie Vardy.
No, I mean he only played a few games for Feyenoord, didn't he? But he scored less than a handful of goals, so it's not a great return. Was it 1 in 6 or something like that? Or
he was their third choice striker in for last
yeah,
season.
so he played 20 odd games, didn't he? That's about all. Probably a lot of them from off the bench, that I thought.
Yeah.
So, and that's why he's come to Leicester. If we're honest,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're going to get these, dare I say it, second-rate strikers. But then, you know, we've signed a few of those in the past, and it's worked. So, yeah, he just needs a bit of luck. But then, as you say, Daka had a bit of luck. He scored 4 in Europe, and he couldn't push on. I did notice Friday, was it, that he was getting a few cheers when he was shutting down and, you know, doing all that sort of stuff. So that's promising for him. I mean, that would help him. And that's all people want. You know, they want a lot of effort. And if he misses half a dozen chances, he'll get one. And that's how Vardy used to work. You know, he's still going to go.
I think there was a bit more of an appreciation for. I think we all accept that he's never going to be classed as a goal machine, at all. But there is an appreciation for what he brings in that last 20 minutes, where against tiring defenders, he doesn't give them a moment's notice. So when you think, if you're leading in a game and the opposition are going to have to come at you, if you've got a striker who's going to work his socks off and not let them come out with the ball and keep them hemmed in, then he can do a valuable job. He's not going to be the guy who's going to come and get you, you know, enough goals to put you in the top 6. But for carrying out a specific role, I think he does that really well, and it causes trouble that allows other people, you know, although he wasn't directly involved, he made the near post run for Monger's cross that meant Ricardo could nip in at the back, you know, the defender getting him. So he's still got those striker's instincts. I think his confidence just shot to bits. And
I did see him in one move, and he closed the goalkeeper down and made the goalkeeper pass it to his side to another player, who he then closed him down because he was, you know, he's obviously quite fast. He played it to a third player, and he closed him down as well.
I mean,
it just gives us time, doesn't it, to get back and get back into shape.
Yeah, he played the 1-2 with Monger, I think. You know, so the one thing I do like about it, when you get some strikers where it's not working for them, they'll go and hide. And I don't think you can say that he goes and hides. He'll work his socks off and he'll do what's asked for him. And I think you're right, Steve. I had a discussion, so we say, on Facebook with someone who just thought we should accept whatever someone offered. You know, it was the usual. You know, I'll you know, if they were paying his bus fare, we should have sent him out. But you've got to replace him. You can't go. So, you know, I think if they'd have got 6.5, 7, I think we would have taken it, even though we wanted 10. If someone's coming in and trying to, you know, pull your pants down and offer 3 or 4, then every player's got a value. And if you know that you've got to then go and replace him, it makes no sense at that moment. So I can understand why, you know, we didn't accept a paltry offer for him, because you can't leave yourself that short.
Exactly. And sorry, Chris, just really quickly, the one thing that, you know, in today's day and age of PSR and you know, points deductions and whatever, the one thing you can't do as a professional football club that have had issues with PSR is book a loss on a player. You have to make a profit. So if they were saying we'll give you 3 million, the club went, well, no, we need at least 4.2 to make a profit, they're not going to do it. And then you also have the issue there, if he goes to Betis, which was the club that came in for him, do we cover some of the wages as well? Because they spent all of their money on Anthony yesterday, 20 odd million pounds with big wages. So, there's that sort of situation to deal with at the same time. So I think the club were smart not to let him go for a smaller fee and potentially covering the wages and not have time to replace him. I think in January we'll probably see some movement with him going out the door and bringing more players in, because then hopefully we'll have had the EFL situation with the points deduction sorted out and gone from there.
Well, I think that's right.
I think you're living in cloud cuckoo land there, Steve. But I know what you mean. Yeah.
The fact that we've spent nothing and we've brought in the best part of 80 million puts us in a very strong position for January. Or if we do miraculously get up without any support, that we've at least got a bit of a war chest to try and go in.
And also, there are conversations going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to in regards to with the EFL. They've clearly had the conversation of, look, we're trying to lower the wage bill. We're trying to make us a lot more sustainable, because the first time we went down, we just went, bugger off. We ain't dealing with you. We'll do what we like. This time around, because there's something on the horizon, the club have clearly gone, okay, well, we're going to sell as much money as we can to bring into the club. And if we don't replace it with full transfers, at least then they can't say, well, look at you trying to buy yourself out of the league again. You say, well, we've had to loan free players in and sign a goalkeeper on a free transfer.
Yeah.
So,
Dave, going back to Daka, I gave him 7 for his performance at the weekend. And I did say, under Marty, everybody gets a clean slate. Look, my thoughts, for example, on Wout Faes. And yet, he... Under Marty, he could turn him into, primetime Messi, whatever. But I was at the Bournemouth game for the FA Cup. Cheers, Craig. I was at the Bournemouth game, FA Cup, a couple of seasons ago, and their striker was not liked by the crowd, and I was sat behind the goal. And every time he had the ball, they were booing him, and, when he was shooting and missing, they were booing him. And as an opposition fan, I felt bad for him, but his confidence. I looked at him and I thought, God, mate, you're just not here. I mean, what you do at the end of the game, that's the end of the performance, and you can, see it. But Marty could, who wanted to keep him, looking at it, he could turn him round. We just never know with a new manager, do we?
Well, we don't know. We're going to have to assume not, I think. But I think it's a culture now of booing, isn't it? I told you before, I was at the Brighton game a couple of years ago, and Iniesta just collapsed. He was a mess, and he missed a last-minute chance, I think, to it, easy header. But he'd gone. He was shocked because people, it was horrendous atmosphere. But we're in that world, I think, where, we love our club, but we hate it. And I can't figure that one out.
The problem is it's instant gratification, isn't it? That we're in the TikTok generation where the dopamine hit every 14 seconds, and that's what some fans need. But it's not sustainable in any way.
Yeah,
I think the one thing
keep the clock going.
I think the biggest thing for me on Friday night was, although the performance wasn't fantastic, there did seem to be more of a togetherness amongst the players, a willingness to work for each other. And that was shown, I think, when the second goal went in, where normally you would expect someone like Mavididi to be sulking a bit, but he was up celebrating the goal just as much as everyone. So that to me says that Marty is working on that behind the scenes, trying to bring that group of players together. And if that gets translated onto the pitch, then the fans are warm to that. And I think that's one of the big disconnects that there's been, that there seems to be this feeling that the players don't care and they're not trying.
Yeah.
Is it just me? Is it just me that just watched the match on Saturday morning? Because Dave watched it on Friday night, and I was surprised you weren't down the bookies if you knew the result, Dave. And now Craig turned up on the King Power on Friday. Craig turned up on Friday night. It was Saturday morning, wasn't it? The early kickoff.
No, it was Friday night, Chris.
It was Friday night. Yeah.
Yes.
I was there Friday. I'm pretty sure it was Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday.
I was there as well.
Well, I remember Kate saying she loves Friday night matches.
Yeah, it was definitely Friday.
Yeah.
But anyway,
right. You could be right.
No, there's no could, Chris.
We are.
It was Charlton we played Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, the week before.
Yeah.
Going on, if I could just say something about the crowd and that, at least 2 of the 3 players that have come in love the fans. I mean, they say the right things anyway, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
But they love the fans. One of them said how passionate the Leicester fans are. I thought, oh, God. But let's just hope that we can do that and get back to how it used to be, where, you used to say the King Power is rocking, and that's how it should be. That got to create the Filbert Street atmosphere again. But if these players are coming in thinking that, then God help them.
Yeah. I know. I'm going to give you that one. It was Friday.
You don't know the answer to that question, and I think you are an ostrich.
I think I am. I think I am.
Alone.
Right, I'm going to move on because we've got about 20 players to get through, and we've been here 45 minutes, and we're still on the second one. So, moving on, Jordan James Craig, attacking stroke centre stroke defensive midfielder, season-long loan, and like Carranza, we've got an option to buy him. 21 years old, English, and this guy doesn't look too sloppy himself.
Yeah, well, I can tell you one thing, that he's going to hate you straight up because he's Welsh.
Is he?
Yeah.
I'm having a good night really here, aren't I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the other guy that's English then. I know one of them is.
He's Welsh as well.
No, he's not.
So, I mean, he's 21, I think, and he's already played 120 senior games. So this isn't even though people might say, well, we've got our own young players, why are they not given a chance? This guy's got a lot of games behind him, and I'm quite excited about him because I don't think we've had a physical box-to-box midfielder for quite a while, and I'm hoping that he can be that thing. Not necessarily overly prolific, but he does know where the net is. I mean, the first goal he scored against us when he got the 2 was a fantastic turn and finish. And I think he's at that age now where he's coming back into the English game with a point to prove, because it didn't go great for him at Rennes. There was a lot thought of him as at Birmingham. Obviously not enough to retire his shirt, but he was highly rated there. And I think this is a great opportunity for him coming at a level that will allow him to show his talents and grow. And I think it's a really good signing, this one, particularly having that option to buy as well. No obligation, but there's an option there if he does well. So,
I mean, that it's almost like sensible to just have an option to buy, isn't it? I mean, John Rudkin, what are you doing? Yeah, what does this mean, Steve, for Samari?
I think he replaces Skip over Samari, to be honest. Hang on, I'm just going to cough for a second. So Skip is playing the more sort of box-to-box role in this squad. Samari is more of the sort of defensive midfielder, if you look at it. But Jordan James is somebody that has the motor to get up and down the pitch for 90 minutes. Craig's correct. Like at Birmingham, he was fantastic at Birmingham, and he was linked to Man City and Arsenal. So, there's obviously some talent there. He's still only 21. He's the sort of guy that I'd actually sign now because he's still a lot of potential. And £5 million in the grand scheme of things isn't a massive amount of money spread over his contract if we were signing him for 5 years. But as a sort of box-to-box midfielder that can play in the attack, central midfield and defensive midfielder, he covers several positions in the squad. So Samari dropped out because you can see him potentially leaving maybe in the next couple of weeks. He's the sort of guy that you would probably push out the door over Skip. Unfortunately, mainly because Skip, as much as he's had a tough time with it so far, he's still an asset that we spent £25 million on. So the club are going to go, well, this guy's got 4 years left. This guy's got a year left. Why would we, push this guy out rather than this one? You might as well try and develop Skip and give him the confidence because there is a good player in there. It's just he hasn't had the opportunity in a poor Leicester City side last year. And Friday he was an improvement. He was a solid 7 out of 10, but an improvement over a 3 or a 4 for the previous weeks.
Look at what I gave him now. All right, okay. Moving on.
But yeah, I think he comes in.
Chris, did you give him that score on the Saturday morning though? After you'd thought about it.
I know I gave him that score on a Monday night.
All right.
So he had plenty of time.
You gave him, Chris?
Sorry? I actually gave him, because on a Monday night when we do the review show, we always look at what Jordan Blackwell's given them in the Mercury, and then I give him a point, and Brad also gives him a point. He got a 6 off Jordan, a 6 off Brad, and I gave him a 5.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. So he came into some criticism, but he was the one that won the ball back for the first goal. He made several sort of dashes back to make tackles, which were very good. Okay, his passing was a bit poor, but then our midfield's passing most of the time is quite poor recently. You know, I don't think Samari and Skip can hit a mannequin from 2 yards at this point. But look, I would say that Jordan James he maybe won't start the first game against Oxford. I think he'll be on the bench and come on second half. But he's somebody that will start more games than not, I can imagine, because he's a very talented player and somebody that I'm quite excited about. When I first saw the link, I was like, this is exactly the sort of player we should be trying to sign.
Yeah. I mean, Wayne said there...
Let's just hope, knowing our luck, that he doesn't go away and get injured on international duty.
Yes. Wayne's put there, 100% Craig, great passer too. If I hadn't got Mongo on my shirt, I'd have James. Wayne, you know what you don't fall in love with a low knee. Because the last time you did that, you had Tete on the back of your shirt, and look how that ended up.
There is also a JJ quota in this squad as well. You've got to have at least one JJ.
This is true.
Indeed, yes, you have indeed. Do you think he's got a point to prove then? Because he was doing well at Birmingham. He was being linked with some big clubs. Then he went to Stade Rennes, and like you said, he's only been there one season. Didn't set the world alight. Like I say, is this his redemption?
Well, he says he's grown, hasn't he? So that's whatever that means. Probably he's matured a bit by being over there, so that's good. Nobody wants to spend their life in Birmingham, so it's a good it's a good place.
Hello to all our Birmingham viewers, by the way.
Don't we built a wall there? So yeah, he's in a good place. The lads have said he's a good player. He loves the crowd because they're always trying to help the players, apparently, and looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, ironically, I'm not a fan of Samare at all, but I thought he's done all right this year for what he did last year.
I thought he had a good game.
I always had him man of the match on Monday or whenever it was, Chris.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Although Sky did. Sky had him as man of the match, and I'm going to say, I actually gave Samari 7.
Okay, well there you go. So I mean, that's more than we could have expected.
Yes.
As you said, passing's not our best thing anyway. So whoever gets the ball, whether they're facing goal or whatever, I panic. If they're in midfield or winging. So but I thought he did all right. So maybe that is an option, like Steve says. So yeah, I wouldn't be unhappy with that.
Now let's talk about this Scotsman. Yeah, I know he's not. Aaron Ramsey, as Steve said, not the Aaron Ramsey, who's 34, I believe, and still playing.
Yeah, I think you'd have had a heart attack if there was a second Welsh player signed, Chris.
I actually thought they meant him at first when I heard about it.
Yeah, so did I.
I think we all did. Yeah,
what is going on?
I think we all did. But yeah, he's 34 and he's still playing somewhere, Mr. Ramsey. Well, I say playing. He's injuries.
He's at Pumas in Mexico, and he actually scored last night. So historically, when Ramsey scores, somebody big dies. So we're hoping to find out who it is at some point today.
No, Dave. If he does now, you'll feel bad. Craig, look, this guy is again 22, and we haven't got an option to buy with this guy. Just a season-long loan. Now, I spoke to Dan, the Burnley fan. He has been out injured. Let me get up exactly what young Daniel said, because he was very complementary, because sometimes when a player leaves, it's like when we signed Vestergaard and who's the other guy that came in with Vestergaard?
Bertrand.
Bertrand, that's it. The Southampton players are going, brilliant, thanks for taking him off. A bit like we are with Cody, you know. But what Dan said was workhorse, mate. He's only just come back from 18 months out from injury, so it would be a huge season for him. But he's got that hunger and desire to succeed. It would be a great move for him. That was before it was all finalised.
Mm.
Again, attacking midfielder. Maybe if Jordan doesn't sort of fit well into that role.
Well, he's got some impressive stats. If our kids have come through. So if you look through the under 21s, under 23s in his senior career, when he's played a few midfield positions, but when he's played as an attacking midfielder, 49 appearances, 24 goals and 15 assists.
Yeah.
That's decent return at whatever age level you're coming through at. So there's clearly a player there. And it's whether he's got over this injury. We've had players who have not come back the same player after injury, sadly. But there's definitely a player there, and with that kind of attacking instinct, which I think is what we've lacked through midfield. It could be a really, really good signing. I think if he's coming here, the thing without coming without an option or whatever is he knows he's going back to his own club, so this is his chance to prove himself. Going back to what he hopes would be back into the Premier League if Burnley stay up. Depending on how he does here, we've seen these moves turn into permanent deals anyway. But this is his chance to get regular football and get back to the levels where I'm sure he believes he should be. And with those numbers, again, I think it's an exciting signing. It looks like we've bought players who offer more mobility and energy than those we've got, and that's a good thing in its own right, particularly in this league where you think you can look a little bit pedestrian. I think our midfields looked pedestrian a lot, so I think bringing these guys in should give everyone a boost, and hopefully it will give a boost to those people who feel that they may not be getting the starts. And it'll give them an extra 10% lift as well. The whole scenario here, for me, the interesting thing is going to be how it affects Harry Winks. Now whether he does go, as you say, there's a window open where he could go. But if he's here, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with him.
I think it's not his first injury, Ramsey, is it? I mean, what's he say? He's 22.
Yeah,
because he was on loan Norwich. And
yes.
It was lasted about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same injury or whether it's a completely different thing, but it is a bit of a worry, isn't it? As you say, the sick note category does creep in. Darren Anderson's a classic on that one.
Yeah, he was a classic, wasn't he? Yeah.
But that's the only worry at 22 to have those couple of pretty bad injuries. I hope he gets through it because
he's been around.
He's a decent player.
Yeah,
he's been around, Steve. I mean, he started out at Aston Villa. They loaned him out to Cheltenham. Then he came back and they loaned him out to Norwich. Then he came back and they loaned him out to Middlesbrough. Then he came back and they sold him to Burnley. For one so young, he's been around, which isn't a bad thing, is it?
No, well, funnily enough, when he went to Burnley, I was screaming that we should have been signing him ourselves. Because they spent £16 million on him, and they're no mugs, Burnley, for signing some decent quality players. He's been around. He's played football, which is good. He's played in the Premier League. He had 14 games in the Premier League in the 24-25 season. So he's got that a little bit of experience. I think it's helped him with the injury, a bit like Abdul. Really, I think he probably would have gone this summer if he didn't get injured last season. So it's a bit of a blessing and a curse. I feel like if Ramsey hadn't been injured and he played all last season, he probably would be going up with Burnley and playing for them instead. He fits our system well. All three of the outfield signings fit our system pretty well. They can all press, they can all harry. They're pretty good on the ball, and technically they fit Marty's system pretty well. Yeah, I think he goes into the problem with Jordan Ayew is that whilst he can hold up the ball, he likes to drift out wide in the cam position, which is great, but you need somebody in that area to open up the midfield a bit more and the defence. So we like to bring the wingers in, have the fullbacks close by, and then have the cam in that sort of triangle position. But Ayew is pushed further into the fullback position, and the fullbacks gone into the sort of number 10 position, which is fine when you've got players like Ricardo playing, but when he's not playing and it's Luke Thomas and Hamza Chowdhury, technically they're not as gifted as Ricardo in that position. So he'll fit in that role really well, and he can also cover the wing and central midfield as well. So if there's any injuries to Winks, Skip, Samare, Jordan Joseph, is it Jordan Joseph? You know, the problem with having too many JJs is you get confused of who they actually are now.
Yeah.
But he can fit in those positions. I think this would be a good season for him. And whilst there's no sort of option to buy at the end of the summer, I think if he does well enough, you know, and if Burnley get relegated, which let's be honest, they probably will do, there might be an option for him to bring us in and push on from there. That's why I think all of the signings we've made, with the option to buy him and potentially with this one as well, they are to set us up for the next 2 or 3 years. You know, we're not thinking short term this transfer window, which is good because you spent, you know, money on Ayew and D. Cordova-Reid that are in the 30s. Whilst that's good and experience is okay, 2 or 3 years down the line, they're even older, they're even slower, and they're taking up big wages, whereas these guys won't take those big wages up, you know.
In my excitement, I'd forgotten we'd still got Cordova-Reid. Dave, do you think either of these guys could look? We've never really replaced Kieran Dewsbury Hall, have we?
Well, we never will. I don't think. There's, you know, a left-footed attacking midfielder like that with that ability, you know, and the position we're in. Maybe if we get promoted in the next 2 or 3 years, we will. But I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Do you think either of these guys are able to fill that role?
I don't know. I think it's the best chance we've had for a while. I think it's a different era now, isn't it? We've got young players coming in. They've got a confidence building situation going on. We've got a mixture of guys who have not had the experience, no matter what you think about Ramsey. I mean, he's still only 22. So, yeah, I think it's quite exciting times. Looking forward to it.
Would you say, Steve, that out of the two, it's more likely to be James that does do that Kieran Dewsbury Hall role?
Yeah, for sure. That's the position he's played at Birmingham, the position that he played at Rennes. Ren. Yeah. The issue with Rennes is that when they signed a lot of players last summer, the technical director got sacked 3 or 4 months later and all of them have now gone now. So clearly, none of the signings they made that summer were good enough for the club. But I know a lot of Rennes fans were disappointed to see him leave because he is, you know, they see him as a prospect and somebody that could have done a job for them. But I think he will play that position, the skip role, or more often than not in the KDH, sort of pushing forward because he's more technical. I think Ramsey plays that cam position pretty well. Yeah.
Right, I'm just going to play this because we're going to now have a very quick look, and we'll just do one each rather than all three now, because we're going to look at those players, because this window has been good for us because we've sold a lot as well. You know, we've got some good money for players that we probably didn't expect we'd get decent money for, and we've got some big wage earners off the bill as well. I'm going to start with this guy because I don't think there's anywhere else that I can do, and this is just pure classic Wayne.
Everyone's excited. Yeah! Get in, Cody's gone. Hallelujah. Yee!
Just a bit excited there, was Wayne. I don't know what the bloody hell's he sent me here. Craig, you can do this one. Connor Cody, 2 million to Wrexham. Thank you, Wrexham.
I'm going to say it looked like Rangers were trying to get him on a loan deal, I think, or on a free. So the fact that we've managed to coax 2 million out of Wrexham and got him off the wage bill, I think is a bonus. I don't think he was a starter. You know, he was going to be. The trouble with players like him is you feel like they have to at least have a place on the bench, which then blocks the development of your younger players like Nelson. So sometimes you've got to get rid of these players. If they're not going to start, there's no use with them hanging around, sitting on the bench, taking up valuable resources, money, shirt number, God knows what. So I think that's good business all round.
And I don't think really any Leicester fan will shed in many tears at him going, you know. Right. But Steve, Wilf went.
Yep. Makes sense, really. I didn't think he'd drop down to the Championship again. With his release clause, we could always see him leaving. And I think he leaves with all of our best wishes, really. He's been a decent servant for the club. He re-signed in the summer on a bigger wage than he was previously. But, you know, and the positive about that is that it doesn't count as any PSR for that one. So this is all profit in that sense. And, you know, you've got to give, as much as I don't like doing it, there are times where you have to give props to John Rudkin, and the transfers that he's done this summer have been fantastic, getting the money in for the players that he has done. Yeah. You know, we'll talk on a couple of them a bit later on. But yeah, look, Wilf will always go down as an icon for Leicester, really. I don't think he jumps into that Jamie Vardy sort of Kasper Schmeichel role, but he's the one below that for me in the next section. And good luck to him. You know, he was always professional. He never threw his toys out the pram.
No, he didn't. No.
And somebody that you can see coming back and getting a big round of applause when he retires.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think so as well. Now, as far as I know, Chris Popoff didn't. He didn't pop off, as they say. I'm here all night. Dave, Mads Manson, 18 million off to West Ham. West Ham were absolutely fuming after his first couple of games. I mean, they had Chelsea, was it 6 they put past him? He was flapping at some of the goals. When they came in, they said he was just going to be the second choice to the goalkeeper that they'd already had. But Potter kind of went straight in there and put him in as his number one. Again, wasn't asking for a move, but 20-odd million with add-ons.
Yeah, I mean, it's an average price, isn't it, for a top keeper? The problem is nobody values the top keepers, so they're less than strikers. West Ham was shit. Let's be honest. I mean, anybody could have played in goal and let 5 or 6 in.
So you weren't impressed with them then?
I thought it was embarrassing, but they put it right the next game, didn't they?
Yeah.
When nobody expected that. So he's a good keeper. There's no doubt about that. He'll be fine. It's a shame to lose him, but you can't blame the guy.
Yeah, I think the injury did him a bit dirty, though, didn't it? You know, he was doing well the first half of the season, then he got injured, and at that point, you lose confidence, and then you get injured again, and we rushed him back. I think maybe we should have just left him at the end of the season. We probably would have got a little bit more for him.
Yeah, I think that any keeper gets has problems coming back from an injury like that. Any keeper, but he's got quality, so that never dies. He'll be fine.
Craig, we could see all your wrinkles then.
Yeah, I know.
I thought God had suddenly turned up.
No, I've been here from the start, Dave.
Craig, you don't look good in the light, Craig.
Don't go towards it.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Just unfortunately, just the way these have come out, and that this one's fallen for you, because I know you weren't his biggest fan, but we got 14 million from him from Ipswich.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's always nice to see youth players come through into the system and get game time. The one thing I liked about McAtee, I think he's got a nose for goal. I would like to have seen what he was like going through the middle, to be honest, because the timing of his runs is very often very good, and he seems to be able to find space. As a winger, he's got neither the pace nor a trick, which, without one of those two, then you're gonna be at a level. and you are going to be a bench player. So for me, for us to get 14 million for someone who was never going to start again, I think is a really good piece of business, and it opens up opportunities for better players, to be honest. So yeah, much as you don't like them moving on, I think I'm not sure he's got much further to go in his ceiling. To be honest,
I liked him, and I would have liked him to have stayed as part of the squad. But in the position we are in financially, you can't, turn down 14 million, especially after we nearly. How much did Sunderland offer? Was it 10 or something?
10.
So yeah, we've got more for him. And like you say, it is sad to see some players go. He was never going to be a starter unless Fataru was injured. So yeah, again, as Ohm says, props to Rudkin. Steve, you've got James Justin now, 10 million for a 27-year-old in the last year of his contract. Again, well done, Mr. Rudkin.
Yeah, so I did the calculations on this one as well, and anything over, it was like £2 million would be pure profit. So, to get 8 million on the books is fantastic for a player that, let's be honest, we probably would let him go for sort of 4 or 5 at this rate, because I don't think he's the same player when he signed for us. I think he's gone back and regressed a little bit. He was unfortunate last season to be next to Wout Faes in defence, because he got a lot of blame for the goals. But, if you've got a central defender that isn't in the position he needs to be in to help cover, then the ball's going to go down your side and there's not really much else you can do about it. We all celebrated and said we had Leeds pants down a little bit with this transfer, which I agree with. I still think he's a good enough player for a lower end Premier League club, but he's been here so long that it's probably best for him to move on anyway, because there's a lot of players that have been here that are still here from under Rodgers' time at the club, and they're tainted with that relegation and the second relegation as well. So moving them on and getting money out from, especially for a player that's in the last year of his contract, fair play. And again, props to Rudkin for doing his job well.
Yeah, and it does mean, of course, that he's not going to play right back for us anymore. So we can actually maybe put a right back in the right back position. Although transfer market do have him down as a right back, but I never liked him on the right. Dave, we're going to move on to those players that we have loaned out now. We're going to start with the biggie, not you, the player, El Canoes. Look, he's gone to Stuttgart. He's 21. It's a season-long loan with an option to buy for 26 million. He had to go, didn't he? He wasn't being picked. His head wasn't in the right place. And I've got to say, props to Marty Cifuentes for going, yeah, I'm not picking you. Your head's not in the right place. I
don't get what all that was about. I missed all that. So fill me in, because there seemed to be a lot of anger about his attitude, almost in the Mahrez way. I don't know whether that's true or not.
He refused to play. By all reports, from what I've heard, is that they had a falling out at Preston for taking him off at half time because he wasn't playing well enough. And then once Palace came in and he said he wanted to leave, he basically refused to play any football for us at all. And fair play to Marty for the last press conference, because he said, look, he's fit to play, he can play. So he put it all on El Canoes, which meant, there's no pressure on Marty then, is there?
No, that's right. And so he should. Good decision. In fact, I'd have tried I don't suppose they wanted to pay up front, but they shipped him out for about 10 million if I could have done on that basis. But I don't suppose we'd have covered ourselves then, would we?
No. At least with this one, if he goes at the end of the summer, next summer, for the reported £26 million,
26 million,
the add-ons, we will make a little bit of money. So it's positive.
And you don't want the player. Sorry, Greg. You don't want a player stopping that doesn't want to be there. I mean, you can say, well, look, you've signed a contract. You're our player. We've got you for another 4 years. But you want players that want to play, don't you?
Yeah, my understanding was sorry, Dave. My understanding on that deal is that that's an obligation, not an option now.
Yeah.
Is it?
I'll be honest, it's a bit of a shame, because if he didn't go and he was here now, for the rest of the window, I'd been like, okay, mate, you're training with the under-21s. You've got the African Cup of Nations coming up in December. You've got the World Cup next summer. If you want to play like a dickhead, then be a dickhead. We don't mind.
I saw somebody talking about that either today or whatever. We can't do that anymore, apparently. That's what, Brian Clough used to send him off with the youth team, but it doesn't happen anymore. Too much player power.
Soyuncu wasn't he? He was playing with the under 21, or training with the under 21.
Oh, that was just a rumour, Chris. Sorry.
I've obviously copied and pasted that, so
No, if
Wikipedia.
Yeah, people don't want to play for Leicester, Sodden.
Yeah, no, exactly.
The club is more important than any football player, I'm afraid.
Bloody right, it is. Yeah.
And it was to me, and unless I'm missing something here, and we've said this before, Steve. Yes, he's got potential, but I don't think he was particularly that brilliant last season. He was average to good in a shit side.
Yeah.
Craig could have put his boots on and been good in that side.
Yeah, and also, like, he's done it to us. He's done it at his previous club to get here. There's no doubt he'll do it at Stuttgart if he plays well this summer as well. To play for a big club, you need to have a decent attitude. And his attitude stinks. I don't think he'd make it at a top 6 club at this point.
No. It was all this, wasn't it?
Yeah. How did it go, Dave? Craig, this is a guy that I feel so sorry for. Sometimes clubs absolutely shit on players and ruin. And I'm so glad that this guy has finally going to be able to go and hopefully play football.
Yeah, the invisible man.
Yeah,
I think that one of the things that frustrates me a lot about modern, I'm going to say journalism, is that they don't ask the questions that the fans want answering. Now, how many times must anyone from the Mercury or Radio Leicester sat in a press conference and never once asked, where is he? When they've seen a squad or they've seen a team, have they asked a question? And if so, are clearly not reporting it. But this is the stuff that we want to know. A guy who came on as a sub looked fairly decent when he came on, if I remember rightly, the game that he came on. I think the next game he didn't do so well and he got pulled at half time, and that was it. We never saw him again. So it just beggars belief what happened. And I know people have said it's almost like with Van Nistelrooy, they just made any signing that they could.
Yeah.
And he was the guy whose name came out of the hat. But it's just bizarre. But hopefully, as I say, for him personally, as a professional footballer, he's going somewhere and he's going to a decent level. Going to Serie A, and it'll be interesting to see. I think they've already played Cremonese once already. I think they played them last weekend. So he won't meet up with Jamie until later in the season. But that'll be an interesting one.
Steve, we were talking again about this guy. Still only 20, but we seem to have been talked about him for like years and years and years. I thought he was something like 25 or 26 now, but he's not. He's gone out on loan to Huddersfield for the season. We got the option, obviously, at the end of the season, he'll come back to us. Has he been overtaken? Because, it was all him and Braybrook, wasn't it? They were the two, they were the fantastic, they were going to be world beaters. And then they've kind of been overtaken by the likes of Mongo and Page. Has time been unfair to him, do you think?
I think injuries have been unfair to him. He had that very serious injury against Wolves in the cup game in the under-18s, which was a horror tackle, to be fair. I'm surprised the guy's still playing football. But, he's come back. He had an okay loan spell at Cardiff, but didn't really play many minutes. He came off the bench a couple of times, started a few times, but when you're in a poor Cardiff side, it's very hard to stand out. Yeah. If he wasn't going to start for us this season, it makes sense to send him out on loan to a promotion-chasing League One side like Huddersfield, because that will be plenty of minutes. He'll be in sort of scoring positions, so his return could come back pretty good. And you sort of compare him to Dewsbury Hall. You know, he wasn't really on our radar all that much until he went out on loan to Luton, became their player of the season, and had a fantastic year, and came back and forced his way into the side. So if we're not in the Premier League next year, I imagine he'll come back and start every week. Or if he hasn't done well at Huddersfield, then another loan move probably. But look, you know, he's still only 20. There are plenty of late bloomers. We talked about Jamie Vardy just then. You know, he was a late bloomer in this industry. Dewsbury Hall's a late bloomer. There's loads about. So I can still see him having a future at Leicester, but he needs to play minutes. He can't just sit on the bench. And that's why I'm glad that he's gone. And no doubt we'll mention Braybrook as well, but I'm glad that he's going out on loan at the same time.
Yeah. Ronald, I've got to ask, Ronald, is that the story about where Crossley ended up playing for his son's Sunday League team or something? Because that is a fantastic story, a Brian Clough story, and there's so many good stories about Brian Clough, but that one particularly does make me laugh. You said we were going to talk about Sammy Braybrook. Yes, we are. There he is. Next up, you've read my notes. Dave is off to Newport. I've been waiting for a call from my Newport mate, but he's kept quiet at the moment. It's only till January, though.
Is that because Newport can't afford him, or because we want him back, though? You know,
I wonder if we wanted him back.
Sometimes they come back in January and go straight out, don't they? Depends. We don't know the plan. I mean, again, he's just a youngster, but you know, once you get to about 2021, you should be making an impact. You know, you shouldn't. I don't think you should be going. I know you talk about late developers, Steve, but you know, you feel if you're going to make something, you should be actually making an impact by that age.
Wasn't he injured as well? Didn't he have a bad injury on loan?
Well, this is the problem with all youngsters, isn't it? If they get injured, it takes a while to get back, and it's like being old. It's same thing. But
I wouldn't know.
No, I know, but you have to be an athlete. But the thing is, I don't know. We've got a lot of these kids around that are almost there, you know, and you think, what's stopping them from actually taking that step? I mean, Mongo, of course, is a different ball game, but we have got a lot of youngsters that I would think this would be a good year to start bringing them into the side or the squads, not put them out on loan. I mean, they can't be on big wages, so it's not that.
I think the thing is with some of these is the likes of Alves, but more so Braybrook is. I think Braybrook's at the crux of his Leicester City career here. And the other thing with these kind of players is sometimes players like this end up getting sacrificed because there's another one coming through behind. You know, in this case, it's Louis Page who's pushed his way forward. And by all accounts, there's 2 or 3 others coming through. So sometimes you have to make those tough decisions as to, we can't give them any more time. You know, he's going away, and this may well be why he's going away just until January to see whether there's a player there. And if not, they may look to shift him out permanently in January to let the next wave of young players come through, I think.
Who's looking after these loanees? Is it still, what's his name?
It's not Huth anymore.
It's not Huth. No. Do we know who it is? Or
no?
So that's quite important, isn't it, with all this going on?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it's a shame. I think, you know, the injuries can affect your career. And like you say, you know, if you're injured, if he hadn't had that injury, maybe Louis Page wouldn't have, had the opportunities that he's had. But look, that's sport, isn't it? Craig, you're a man of my age. Do you remember many years ago that the tabloid newspapers used to have a thing where if you saw a man in a sun hat, as in the newspaper, if you went up to him and touched him on the shoulder and said, "Ha, you're the sun man, I recognise you and I claim my £5," and he'd give you a £5.
I do recall that vaguely, Chris. I'm really interested to see where this is going.
This is going like, well, I'd almost forgotten he was still with us. Nathan Abuko. Again, I wondered whether he may come through as a striker. He's 24. We bought him. We've never seen or hide there of him. He went out to Luton for a couple of seasons. He'd been injured as well. Is he drinking at the last chance saloon here?
I'm not sure he's been here and had a snifter at all at the minute, really. When we got him and we sent him out, as you say, and then he got injured. This is another one again. Go out, play some football, prove to us that you've got a future at the club. And I think that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing, which is fair. Yeah, crucial. And you know that we're doing the right thing by some of these young players. You know, we're giving them an opportunity to prove themselves, which they wouldn't get if they just hung around. They'd be down in the under-21s, blocking other people coming through. So it's good for us. It's good for him. I think these moves are good to see, I think.
Yeah. Steve, we'll round up on the players on this one. Gone on a free. Daniel Ward, Daniel Everson, Jamie Vardy. The first one of those, bloody hell, thank God. You know what I mean? I tried defending him. He was to me what Daniel Amati was to Dave. That's all I can say. I tried defending him and, saying he had as he said earlier, the defence in front of him was bloody useless. But, he's gone to Wrexham and they're not happy with him after the first couple of games.
So I'm guessing that proves that he was just crap all around then, right? If he you can't blame the defence of both teams.
No. Well, he's got Cody. Let's be fair. He has got Cody in front of him. Got to give him that. But he got injured at the weekend, and he was seen not long afterwards in the local McDonald's. I think I said to you, with his arm up, still in his kit. But I think we were all glad to see him go. Daniel Everson, good luck to him. I would have liked to have kept him as the number 2, but he wanted first team football, and Preston love him because he'd been there on loan. And of course, Jamie Vardy. What can you say about Jamie Vardy? He's gonna have a great time. I mean, you know the area. You've been there.
Yeah, it's a wonderful area, and I've just speaking to my wife yesterday, and we're actually going to go out there in May and hopefully catch a game at the same time. So it's quite cheap to fly out to Milan. It's less than an hour on the train down to the stadium itself. So, something that I'll be taking advantage of for sure.
Make sure you're wearing a Leicester shirt.
I will, but I'm also going to buy their black third kit because it's really it's beautiful, the black kit that they have. I don't know his number yet. Yeah. I think he's number 7 apparently, so it's a bit weird that Vardy number 7.
Yeah, I spoke to my lad because we've talked about doing a continental trip, whether it's Spain, Italy, or whatever, and trying to take in a weekend where there's 3 games. And now that's a really good option. And as you say, I've been to Milan a few times. I love Milan and that region down there. So yeah, it does make a good excuse, and I'm sure there'll be
group trip.
It does sound like a Leicester till I die trip.
Yeah. End of term Sharabank trip.
Oh yeah.
Is he? Has anybody been watching Destination X? I can see you 3 on that.
No idea what that is.
You haven't watched it, then I'm getting away with it. And finally, and this goes out to all of you. The whole idea: rate the window. You can rate it however you want it, 1 to 10, good, bad, ugly. It's really, really up to you. Let's start with you, Dave. Rate this window for Leicester, because I think for me it's been one of the best ones we've had for a while.
Well, yeah, but doesn't make it perfect, does it? I'd say an 8.
You're going for an 8. Ooh, okay, Craig.
I concur with Dave. I'm going to give it an 8 as well.
Yeah, and Steve.
To be the different one, I'm giving it a 7. I think the issue is we've still got a few players. I mean, if Fast goes up to Turkey in the next 2 weeks and we lose maybe Harry Winks as well to Turkey, it would be quite nice to get those wages off the books. It would push it up to an 8. Yeah. But we left it quite late, which you had to do with PSR anyway. And it's the only way you can get some decent deals nowadays is to leave it as late as you can in the window.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to sign another backup goalkeeper, and then hopefully. January will reinforce anyway, so a 7 for me.
Yeah. I've got to say, have you read my script? because I agree with everything you said there. 7, Winks getting off the wage bill.
Like you've got a script.
I have. I just write the wrong things down, like Wales instead of English instead of Welsh or whatever. But no, I would have liked another goalkeeper, as everybody who watches this channel knows. And I would have also liked Winks off the wage bill as well. And I have to do a script to remember everybody's name. Doris. Right, guys, thank you all very much indeed. Like I say, Steve, if you can just stay on for 2 seconds at the end.
Thanks,
I'm not sure whether there'll be one next week. I'm sure there will, because we haven't got a game, have we, this weekend? So
I can't make next week, mate. Sorry.
You what? Sorry.
I can't make next week. I'm with the Australians.
Well, I tell you what, nor can Kate make next week. So
yeah, but she promised me not to say anything.
Now, it's, by the way, Steve, Kate, who normally does this show, Dave's a stalker.
I thought it was Craig.
Okay.
Oh, you're stalking me?
The old folk dancing or whatever it is.
Well, they go on holiday together. You parking your car outside a bedroom window.
I'm not parking anything.
Guys, thank you all very much. And I'll probably see you next week. We'll probably end up doing one. And I'll speak to you in a second, Steve.
Nice to meet you, Steve.
Yeah,
cheers, guys. You too.
Cheers, Craig.
Thanks so much.
Bye, Chris.
Thanks a lot to the guys. Really appreciate the time and coming in. And that's it. The transfer window's over. We'll do it all again in January, I'm sure. Please do me a favour. If you could like the video, it would really, really help us. Subscribe, that would help us as well. Both of those are free of charge. If you are watching on catch up, you can still do both of those things. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, 105,000 listeners in the past year. Unbelievable. I don't believe it, as somebody once said. I'm not sure when we're back. We're not doing anything tomorrow because I'm off out to see family. Will we do something on Thursday? Depends what's happening, I guess. We'll have a look at that. But thanks so much, everybody, and I'll see you when I see you. Click that notification bell, then you'll know when we're putting a new show out. See you. Have a good night. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.